Hey everybody, and welcome to a special episode of the Irish Wrestling Podcast. I'm delighted to be joined today by the international man of mystery himself, the man who's all over Irish media at the moment, the one and only Mr. Jack Moody. Jack, how are you?
Doing very well. Thank you for having me on a Sunday evening, no less.
Well, it's the best times, I think, to do these things. And most people are after chilling out after a long weekend, or they're after their Sunday lunch and they're just lying about the house unwinding. So no
Yeah,
better time to have a little chat about
You could say
wrestling. Why
that.
not? After this
Yeah,
weekend, there's plenty of wrestling that
a lot
happened.
to discuss. A lot to discuss for sure.
Yeah. Well, just to introduce everybody to you, Jack. I know you've been around Irish media at the minute, so anybody who hasn't seen it, what are you watching? Are you a wrestling fan? Why aren't you watching these interviews with him? Jack started wrestling at the age of 32. I'm correct. You started wrestling training at the age of 32. I'm sure you were wrestling as a child with your cousins or your siblings. Child. So maybe the actual professional training side of things at 32, and ended up training in America 9 months later. Am I right? 9 months
Like
later.
that, yeah.
How does someone at 32 start training and end up in America?
Yeah.
Going through different promotions and training with WWE and AEW stars.
Yeah, it is an unlikely story. Not and I didn't really anticipate things developing as rapidly as they did. When I started in September 21, it was the Fight Factory had been promoting a 10-week beginner course. It was actually due to happen, I think, a year prior. They had been promoting it, and then of course there was yet another lockdown, so that kind of basically curtailed all wrestling activity for a year. So who were my contemporaries in that course had been due to start a year prior. So I guess there was a kind of a groundswell of momentum then when we did get the opportunity to start training a year later. We really hit the ground running. And some of the alumni from that course have been doing incredible things, like AJ Scraggs, Double L, The Scoop. There's been a load of that's been a really kind of a star-studded course when you think about who's come from it. So yeah, it was essentially just the first chance I got post-pandemic to get involved. I jumped at, and then once you're like, the 10 weeks flies by. It's like a Saturday every week for 10 weeks. And at that stage you're basically invited into the kind of the inner circle of the Fight Factory, so to speak. And and then training Tuesdays, Thursdays, weekends as well. So then that's when things started really developing, because you're training with some of the best in Europe multiple times a week, so you can only get better. And a lot of us were just kind of sponges. To quote Otto, I'll show you who's a sponge. But yeah, we were all just sponges, like trying to learn as much as possible. And I guess I was fortunate that I used to live in America. I used to live in Colorado, so I have a very good network there, which means I'm back and forth regularly enough throughout the year for various friends, weddings, events, things like that, just catching up. So it was when I was over there, it was like, well, look, there's obviously no better place to ply my trade than the US in terms of getting noticed and making a name for myself, or giving myself as best a chances, building momentum. And yeah, it was just a case of being in the right place at the right time with the right skill set. That was, the Fight Factory style stands out very much over there. I've said this in recent interviews that, like, I was in the Santino Bros dojo in LA, and I was wearing a Fight Factory tank top. And Robert Martyr, who some listeners might be familiar with, he's absolutely smashing it on the independent scene in the US, and will likely be signed in the next year or two. But he was like, "Oh, Fight Factory, Michael May." So it really is highly, highly renowned and regarded. So I guess it's kind of a perfect storm of being in the right place at the right time with the right skills, with the right attitude, and just maximizing the opportunity that was presented to me.
How did Phil and Katey and the team welcome you in, like, as a 32-year-old? They're looking at you. Are you just...
I don't think they even knew my age. Maybe I wrote that. Maybe I, on some piece of paperwork, I had to probably write it down, but there was never a mention of it. I've received this before. Like, I don't probably carry myself like a 34-year-old. Like, I don't have I've often been called younger than I am in terms of my, like, how I look, my physical appearance. So I'm often mistaken for a younger man, which helps. But yeah, there was never like any. I don't think age has anything to do. There's no real limiting factor unless you decide it's going to be one for yourself. So yeah, they're extremely welcoming, and yeah, it's crazy. I can think about it. I still remember the first day. It's September 21. I had to cycle in from Bray because the darts, of course, weren't running. I was like, oh, here we go. I'll be wrecked by the time I get in. And yeah, it was a really welcoming environment. Everyone was very sound. And you just quickly became to realize, right, this is something. If I'm going to do this, I have to treat it like an academic study. At my age, I have to treat it like an academic study, not just once a week. I have to really dedicate a huge amount of time to it, and that's what I've done, and it has paid off. So I'm not even 2 years in yet, and I think I've surpassed my own expectations in terms of where I've gone and what I've done, and I owe all that really to Fight Factory.
And does the bumps in your 30s, or obviously they're probably a lot worse in your 30s than you would have been if you're in your 20s?
I would say so. Yeah, I think we're, as you age, you become more injury prone, but I guess if you take the right proactive steps, I mean, I do yoga every day. I do Pilates. I do a huge amount of preemptive work on my body before training, just as like a daily routine.
Yeah.
I kind of understand that. I'm like, oh, look, at this age, there's certain limitations, and my bandwidth is only so wide. So I have to basically maximize the time I have in the ring. So, stretching, yoga, Pilates, sauna, sea swims, all of that stuff comes as a kind of a matter of course now. So I have to, just treat my body like, it's a well-oiled machine, and make sure that, I'm listening to it. And if there's niggling injuries, I address them or I work around them. Because when you're in your 20s, you can kind of just get away with murder in terms of how you treat your body, really, in terms of what you eat, what you drink, how much sleep you get. Just you can be as reckless as you want. Whereas in your 30s, it's a different ball game, and your body will definitely tell you if you're not treating it right. So I just listen to it and do the best I can to make sure I'm in as best condition I can be.
Did you have an athletic background coming into it? Like, you seem to have picked it up pretty quickly with your style and your grappling style.
I wouldn't say I'm particularly athletic. I basically, from the age of like 21, 22, I was in that's when I got seriously involved in the gym, because prior to that, like, I would have been very, very, very puny and scrawny, and the kind of my physical pursuits would have been predominantly just football, like five-a-side, surf. I was into surfing in college, so that was probably gave me a bit of strength and like balance and things. But no, not particularly athletic. Just very, very driven to do this to the best of my ability. Like, I know my physical limitations. I know I'm not going to be doing shooting star presses. I'm not going to be doing suicide dives. I know what I can do, and I want to do that well. But yeah, it's just, I suppose, a decade of gym work has kept me in reasonable shape.
Yeah.
And like my cardio is pretty good, but obviously could be better. But yeah, just general. It was kind of always in the back of my brain. It was like, look, I'll eventually get around to doing this. And it just so happened that the post-pandemic era was the perfect time to do it, because that's when I had the most time and just the most energy then, really, to put towards something I really wanted.
Was it difficult getting into America, obviously during the pandemic or after the pandemic, with visas and stuff? Would have been
so there was a while when European travelers couldn't go. So that was actually, trying to think, right up until like November 21. So basically the world opened up probably around July, August 21. And it wasn't until November 21 that the US started welcoming European travelers again. So it was a huge delay, and I remember at the time people were raging because like they hadn't seen their loved ones in over a year, like a year plus. So they were just a bit slow in terms of opening the gates again. So yeah, it was just a case of waiting until we were allowed to travel. And so November 21 was the return. It had probably been 18 months since I'd been over there, so I had a lot of catching up to do and things like that. But yeah, once you get over there, then it's a case of just, introducing yourself to the right people. Like, they're very welcoming and accommodating, and way more so than we are, I think. So there's this notion that Irish people are so welcoming, and we are to a degree, but like, I don't know how good we are at like integrating people.
Yeah.
Integrating people, like properly integrating them, not as opposed to like, oh, nice to meet you, hey, best of luck. The Americans are great at just like, like they will present you with opportunities, introduce you to the right people, and they'll have your best interest at heart. Like they're so positive in that regard.
What's the indie scene like in America, outside of, you know, the major indies that are in Florida or places like, you know, we're in Colorado. You know, some of the independent promotions you've worked for, are they big in Colorado? Are they big scenes? Are they similar to what Fight Factory or OTT would be? Or
it's definitely kind of a hidden gem for the US scene for sure. Like I think Colorado in general is for some people it's kind of lumped into the Midwest or the flyover states. When in actual fact, it's probably one of the most beautiful states in all of America in terms of the actual landscape and the lifestyle and the weather. And yeah, very vibrant wrestling scene. You have a bunch of promotions running every month. So basically every weekend there's shows. And the scale is like you would expect it to be in America. Like there's so much demand for wrestling, so much demand for everything. And it means the opportunities for wrestlers are substantially greater because of the frequency with which they're running shows. And it's quite a collaborative scene. Like there's some like a degree of rivalry between the promotions, but I would say they do kind of operate in harmony in the sense that they try not to run against each other, that, you know, wrestlers will compete for different promotions, and that's not a problem. So in my experience, I've seen a lot of you know, it's kind of seamless from a wrestler's point of view, because you're not stepping on toes by going one place or the other. There's no like political agendas or anything. So I would say, yeah, it's a very vibrant scene, and there's a lot of very, very professional promotions that run extremely kind of dynamic shows in terms of presentation and the venues they run. And that's all down to the fact that there's more availability. These kind of venues are more accessible. Here in Ireland, we don't really have it's been widely reported on, like the venue crisis, and Tivoli being a classic example. Whereas in the States, there's more of these class looking venues, and they're reasonably priced. It's not extortion to rent them. So it's just I'd say they're more supportive of their cultural niches than they would be here. Whereas like OTT has had its problems in terms of finding like venues that they can that are viable to run, that they're not running a loss on. Whereas over there, there's just a kind of plethora of options at any promotion's disposal in terms of where they run and the cost associated with that. So yeah, it's just, again, in America, it's all about scale, and they definitely use that to their advantage.
I'd say the weather helps as well. Like they can run outdoor shows.
Oh yeah,
constantly.
Yeah, like taco fests and like honestly, like they'll put a ring anywhere, and people, when there's alcohol involved, even like people who are the, you know, natural skeptics when it comes to this kind of performance art, they'll get into it. And so that's a good point. Like the weather makes it easier for them to run anywhere. It doesn't have to be a venue necessarily.
Yeah,
you can go to like fun fairs and craft fairs and taco fests and any kind of cultural event. They can just we'll just put up a ring here. And
that's kind of how it got really, you know, big, like with the carnival atmosphere from the early 1900s. Like a lot of wrestling was outside and ended up in parking lots and stuff.
Exactly, and people are just walking by and they see it, and they see the larger than life characters, and they're naturally drawn to it. And I've seen examples of like Taco Fest shows that you suddenly have like 400 or 500 people watching, which is just like, and these are like just, you know, people who are word of mouth. Oh, there's a crazy wrestling show going on over the hill, and suddenly you have this incredible like Bash at the Beach style atmosphere with all these people like getting really involved and really into it, guzzling beer and pretzels and all that. So yeah, it's just there's more opportunity for that kind of spontaneity, whereas here we'd have to plan it. Like, of course, you couldn't, like this evening it's just after lashing rain out of nowhere for 10 minutes. It's like, you know, that kind of intermittent showers means like planning is difficult, and outdoor wrestling shows, I don't know if there has been one here. I'm sure there has, but they're infrequent.
I can't remember. I never attended. I'd love to attend one.
I'm sure there have been, but yeah, it just means like the weather is a constant worry. So it's just the nature of living in Ireland.
It is. Speaking of the good weather, I know you traveled to Florida for some time. They train with flatbacks. What was that experience like itself, as in the wrestling school, comparing it to like a Fight Factory? Is it?
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, just to be in that kind of facility, which somewhat mirrors like a performance center style environment. You know, the much bigger ring. They have all the kind of the like old WWE pay-per-view posters, and like even the ring apron is like, I think at the time when I was there, it was like a Royal Rumble ring apron. So the real Royal Rumble ring apron, which is pretty cool. And yeah, like Florida is just a hub for, as we all know, like because of the PC, there's so many wrestlers living there, and so like on a routine basis, you'd have the likes of Adam Cole, Cesaro, Xavier Woods, Xia Li, just popping in, just do a few rolls with the lads and the girls, and yeah, it's just an amazing experience to be a part of that ecosystem. Very intense, I would say. Also, like like the first week in particular, it was kind of considered the conditioning week. You don't know this going in, of course. You find out as you're day after day, you're just being blown up. So the first week is the toughest, probably in terms of conditioning, like really, really tough cardio. And we lost maybe 4 or 5 people actually in the first week, something crazy. So there was a serious dwindling of the numbers. And then of course you kind of get into the more routine aspects of it, like the rolls, the bumps, the moves, the sequences, the putting a match together, because you have people of varying levels of experience at these kind of courses, right? So you it has to be all encompassing. So for me, someone who at the time I'd been, well, it would have been like over a year now, like a year at least, a year and a bit when I was over there. You know, I had some level of acumen that I could use and demonstrate. So you're kind of asking them, the questions that I'd be asking them would differ from someone who's just getting started. So that was really cool, just talking to the likes of Breeze and Spears on like 4 to 5 times a week, and just grilling them with questions and asking them for advice on certain things. So weather-wise, very humid and hot, and I can see why people retire to Florida. Like obviously warm is always good, but very, very humid, and like if you're training hard 4 or 5 times a week, I quickly had to add to my t-shirt inventory, put it that way. Quickly after the first week, right, I think I need to go to Target and buy 20 t-shirts here, because there's going to be a lot of changing. But yeah, amazing. Like every time I'd be driving home after a seriously tough session, like you're on just a different high, because you've pushed yourself and you've given everything. And you're absolutely wrecked. Like you'd be sleeping like a baby the whole time, but very, very cool experience.
Definitely worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Is there plans to go back to Florida somewhere maybe?
Yeah, for sure.
Camp there.
I just need to figure out a time. Yeah. So I have been in touch with Breeze about coming back at some point. We just need to figure out when the best time is. And obviously the Irish winter might be a good time to do it, because we know what it's like here, and I know very much what it's like there. So we'll see.
It's hard to recover in the cold Irish winter than it is.
It is, yeah. It's just not as pleasant, and the body reacts differently. I mean, in a warm environment, you're probably more supple and and your body's responding to the kind of the general positivity that comes with sunshine and blue skies. Whereas here it can get a bit downtrodden, as we know.
Outside of the wrestling, like you're in America, do you have a full-time job on the back of that, or are you?
So I'm self-employed as a copywriter.
Okay.
So that's actually kind of what spurred this new wrestling pursuit for me post-pandemic. So after the pandemic was over, I like prior to that, I'd been working in different kind of corporate jobs, and came to the realization that this was not the path for me, that I had to figure out a way to get off that track, off the treadmill, and just figure out a way to be self-sufficient. So once things started opening up post-pandemic, it was a case of me going solo as an entrepreneur, and using that as a means of giving myself having autonomy over my schedule, putting training and my well-being first, as opposed to the 9 to 6 rat race. Definitely grueling, and definitely put huge limitations on what I could do. So that's been the biggest enabler, I would say, of me wrestling at 32, because I thought about it for years prior, when I was in the midst of a 9 to 6 or a 9 to 7 schedule, and the prospect of doing multiple back bumps at 8 o'clock after a 9 to 7 day is like, I mean, the people who do it, I commend them. Like, that is unbelievable dedication, because you have to, not only are you physically and mentally drained, but like you have to be in peak condition to do all these things. So anyone who does run that grind and performs at such a high level here in Ireland, my hat is off to them, because I know it definitely it felt for me at the time when I was in that environment, corporate wise, it's just not feasible. And maybe that was a bad attitude at the time because, you know, people do it. But I felt if I really wanted to maximize it, it had to be a kind of a study and a priority, and not just like a once a week or a twice a week thing. So yeah, the fact that I have my own kind of business is a huge part of what I do. If I didn't have it, I don't know if this would have worked out. It's definitely changed the nature of my day, how my day is structured, when I choose meetings, when I work and so on. So that's been the biggest benefit.
Excellent. Yeah, and obviously you've got to travel a lot. You've been to Germany, Spain.
Yeah, WXW.
Yeah.
That was early on as well. That I was only maybe, I would say I was like 4 months in at that point, and I was quite nervous going over because you think like this is like the first time you're actually traveling for it. But there's such a nice crowd over there, and a lot of the Irish guys have been over there. Actually, Big Rab was just there, maybe last month.
Yeah.
So they're very accommodating of Fight Factory guys in particular, and yeah, really like state of the art facility. I would recommend anyone who's like beginning training or, you know, a couple of years in, like it's definitely worth just experiencing new training facilities, different styles of training. I also then, following my Germany trip, I went straight to Barcelona to wrestle with Resist.
Yeah.
To train with them. And so that was a super cool experience, just to, you know, be in a nice city in January, sunshine, and then training every day. And they're so set. There's actually a really nice Irish guy, Michael McKeown, or TJ Charles is his worker name, but he's Irish in Barcelona.
Oh, really?
He's doing incredibly well. He's been wrestling like a decade, and he's doing extremely well over there. Like he's definitely like on the top tier of the Barcelona scene, and I'm pretty sure he's traveled extensively in Spain and Europe too. So he's definitely one to watch in terms of an Irishman abroad, and you know, he's flying the flag with great pride.
Excellent stuff. Obviously, speaking your duty, have your match. You're coming here to Ireland now for your. So this is obviously, it's not your debut match for Fight Factory, is it?
No.
I know you had a match with Phoenix in
20. Yeah. Back in May of last year.
Limerick, wasn't it?
That is great. Yeah, Billy Bedlam was in that match. It was class. So that was the first one, and then
was that your debut match in Ireland completely, or was that your debut?
That was, yeah. Fatal 4-way, no less. That was fun. And then I think I did a Fight Factory Next Gen show against CBL, which is great.
Yeah.
And then last summer had a match with Big Rab in August, I believe. And now here we are, nearly a year later, and going up against Kuro and Thiago Montero, which is a big step up for me, in terms of like these lads are, you know, they are coming into Dublin with a huge amount of momentum, and I'm tasked with defending Fight Factory from them, to quote a Hangman Page line. But yeah, huge respect for both of them. But I'll have a hometown advantage. A lot of my friends are going to be there for the first time. They're going to be seeing me wrestle, so there's extra motivation.
No pressure.
No pressure, no high stakes, but that's you know, that's the nature of the beast, and very much looking forward to it. Yeah,
absolutely. It's going to be a good show for anybody that's not going to it. I won't be in attendance, but some of the lads will be going to it. The Fresh Life Summer Party this Friday the 7th in Fight Factory, a massive card, and you know, it's going to be a hell of a show. You know, obviously bring your own beer and go for it.
It's a super stacked card. Like if anyone's looking at the Fight Factory Twitter just to see the rundown, like you got Leighton Buzzard, Leon Slater, Gene Money, all coming from the UK. And then, you know, you got the stalwarts of Irish wrestling on show. So it's really shaping up to be something special. Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to it. Any plans for the future now? What's the next step? I know you were talking about you know, New Japan, something that you're that's definitely the future. Definitely a long-term aspiration for sure, like to get to Mexico, to get to Japan. I mean, how far away that is, who knows? I mean, it's a case of getting yourself in the right environment, seen by the right people, with the right skills. yeah, I mean, I wouldn't rule out like in the next year at least trying to get over there to either one of those places, and maybe if it means just training there for a month or something with a view to perhaps trying to get on some shows. I think that's always a sensible approach as opposed to just casting your net out wide and seeing who bites. Like if you actually put in the time and the effort to bring yourself to a training facility, you're willing to show them what you're capable of. You're willing to get down in the trenches and just put in some serious work on the mats. That's always a good way to get booked and to get opportunities, because it's very hard to demonstrate passion and desire in an email as opposed to being in there and being in front of the coaches of these various schools. So that's definitely something I'm keen to pursue. But whether it's this year or next year, it's probably be more of a 2024 campaign. But yeah, we'll see.
Well, I hope it happens. I hope we get to see more of you in Ireland as well. I hope you come back. And, there's the Irish scene at the minute is rampant with them. The promotions are all putting on hell of shows. Like you've got Hard Knocks in Limerick and Cork County or Cork Rebel County Wrestling in Cork. You've got
FFPW,
it's the shows are all phenomenal. So hopefully
the standard is so high. So yeah, very much would love to get more involved. I feel like I've kind of been in and out so often that it's hard to get like a consistent run here. But something I'd love to do and have.
You're staying in Ireland for a while, or are you heading?
Yeah, I'll be here till mid-July. So 2 more weeks. And so yeah, in that time, I'm just going to be training as much as possible with the Fight Factory lads, LJ Cleary, Jay Steins. We've kind of become the trio. We're constantly training with the ringleader Jay Steins tomorrow afternoon. He absolute legend. Him and LJ have been so instrumental in helping me develop my skills, and so yeah, I owe a great deal to both of them.
Yeah, I just a shout out to Jay Steins as well. His story came out today as well. It's just documentary was, it's heartbreaking, the story if you read it. But the fact that he's pushed through and he's he's become the wrestler he's become after something like that. It's a testament to
a great testament to him. Yeah, no, he's definitely he's rapidly become a cornerstone of the Irish wrestling scene.
100%.
Nobody would say a bad word about him. Like he's the most proactive, positive, genuine, generous, dedicated wrestler, and he deserves to go far.
Absolutely.
In the industry, and everyone will be behind him, because he puts in so much work behind the scenes. You can't really quantify the amount of energy he puts into Irish wrestling. It's truly amazing, and he's a huge inspiration to a lot of people. Absolutely,
and he's a legit wrestling champion in Compton.
Yeah. Funny story. So me and some of the Fight Factory guys were training. We did a seminar with Chavo.
Yeah.
In Burbank, I think it was. In California, Burbank, and so I think it was myself, LJ, CBL, Martin Steers, and Jay, and Steinsy, of course, had the Compton Mania match, and the seminar kind of went on quite long because we were all just like picking Chavo's brain and chatting to him, and so Stein's like, I need to get back to Compton as soon as possible. Like his match was like an hour or two away, and of course LA traffic is ridiculous. So I drove him down to Compton and let him off, and of course he won the title for a undetermined amount of time. But he was still champion. So look, amazing achievement.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was a fun trip for the Fight Factory lads.
Hopefully we'll see you back there again next year. I'm not sure who's heading. What the plans are for WrestleMania in Philadelphia. But
no plans yet. But we felt a bit hard done by with the finish of the main. Obviously, 2 nights of WrestleMania was class, but the finish, we were all just stunned looking at each other, and then the next night, the Raw afterwards was terrible. I thought it was terrible, and so it was still amazing trip, and we may well go to Philly, but a long way to go.
Yeah. Will you be in London for All In? I'm not sure.
That is the plan. Yeah, that's definitely the plan. I haven't booked a ticket yet, but I probably should soon because I don't know what they're at yet at the moment in terms of ticket sales.
63 or 64.
Yeah, around that. So the sooner I do it, the better. Are you going to go yourself?
Yeah. We're going as well. Yeah. Looking forward to it.
It'll be interesting to see because they have All In that weekend and then a week later. I'll be very interested to see what the cards are looking like.
It'd be hard if they're going to have two pay-per-views back-to-back weekends after. I'm not sure the way they've split up the rosters for Collision. Anyway, or are they going to split up both All In and All Out, or are they going to be separate?
I'd say you'll have to have some kind of crossover. Yeah. I think it's All Out's in Chicago, which means you'll have to have Punk.
Yeah.
And he's been advertised now for All In.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, actually.
I saw like the newspaper clippings in UK. So yeah, there'll definitely be crossover. But yeah, exciting times. That week alone will be really interesting.
Yeah, and just to share it out, if you haven't watched Collision this week, Shawn Spears had a backstage segment with.
I saw he had a match. Maybe that was Rampage, was it?
I think it was Rampage, but he had a backstage segment.
Yeah, against the Blade. I haven't seen Collision though. I think that's fast becoming some people's favorite show.
Yeah, it was a great episode. He had a backstage segment with Christian and Luchasaurus.
Oh, interesting.
Get a title shot.
He wants a title. Yeah, he hasn't had a singles title.
It's good to see him back on TV, like, because he was gone for a while. Like he came and went.
Yeah, he had a baby.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
him and Cassie. But yeah, I mean, you'd love to see it. Love to see a TNT Championship victory. Like that's one thing that's eluded him his career so far, at a singles title, and he definitely deserves it. Yeah, especially when you think about some of the pops he's gotten, like 2015, 16, like Royal Rumble.
Yeah,
10. Like, there was huge momentum there potentially, but as we know, momentum isn't always capitalized on. And last night, if anyone hasn't seen it, why don't you do it? Like, I don't understand. Similar to Cody at WrestleMania, it's like it's there for the taking, and they choose not to do it. I don't know why. They seem to be a little reticent to.
They're obsessed with
the trigger.
They're obsessed with letting it play out.
Yeah. It's like, how long? I mean, I don't know. What, in your estimation, do you think the Cody thing's been the way the way the WrestleMania result has then spurred? Like, do you think it's worked out?
I don't think it's going to work out the way they think it is.
Yeah,
I know why. Kind of know why they did it. I didn't want to be too cliche, and he comes back from injury, wins the Royal Rumble, and wins the main event at WrestleMania. Has been overplayed, like, but who beats Roman? Like, who is Jay and the Usos? Are they going to help Solo win, or is Jay going to be in SummerSlam? And
they must have something in mind. I mean, we'll never know. It'll take hindsight's always 2020, but at the moment you'd wonder, like, with Cody up against Dominic, you're like, is that the best place? But he's fine either way.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be. They have two championships now that they can use. Yeah. He wants to be champion. I'm sure they'll put that strap on him, but he doesn't have to beat Roman to be a champion.
No, but you feel like that it would feel like a down.
Yeah,
step down, wouldn't it?
I just don't know where they go with it. If they talk of Roman being champion all the way to WrestleMania 40, and
I think that's definitely on the cards. It's just a case of who do they get ready for then?
Well,
we'll see.
The Rock.
Potentially, yeah. But then he's not winning it, so
not winning the title. Yeah,
have another year.
That is the problem. That was always the problem when they mentioned that Rock's going to be the one, but he doesn't.
Going to happen.
Not when he want the title.
Yeah. In retrospect, you'd nearly rather they did the Rock match this last Mania.
Yeah.
And then put Cody a year ahead.
I think maybe that's something they had a plan. The Rock wasn't available. Maybe they.
Possibly, yeah.
At this stage, I don't know if he's going to ever be available.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway,
maybe.
Well, we'll see.
Work your way up, get there.
Yeah, if I keep on this accelerated path, who knows?
Down to Florida, get in the NXT.
Yeah. I mean, look at Solo. Like, he was only in NXT a few months, something, and then he's on the main. And now he's regularly main eventing. So
he's so good. Like,
obviously his family lineage definitely helped. But
obviously,
he has capitalized on, like, he's taken the ball and run with it. Like, he now is a bona fide top tier talent.
It's
just that presence. The presence.
Yeah, it's scary how good he is at that.
Yeah, doesn't have to do a whole lot. Like, just the way that stare alone is.
He gets it. He just gets.
Yeah, he does. I mean, like, you have to say, like, he's not doing backflips or you won't see him doing a Canadian destroyer. It's pure presence and intensity. So it's kind of a reminder of, like, that is really they're the building blocks. Like, if you can bring something like that to the table, it doesn't really matter what your wrestling's like. Obviously, he's very competent in the ring and has a unique offense and finisher and things, but it's pretty much just his presence is making him a star.
Yeah, 100%. Before we go, I'll just throw. We talked about All In already, but throw out what would be your dream main event for All in Wembley?
It probably would have been Omega Ospreay, honestly. Just to have like a huge Ospreay match in London. Now I don't doubt that he'll be on the card. I think at this stage, the way things are looking, I mean, you could go. You'd like to see the Punk FTR, Omega Young Bucks 6-man, but probably not likely. I think at this stage, it's probably Adam Cole seems to be in line, or maybe not. I don't know. Honestly, I just want to go and experience a Wembley wrestling event, which is a rare privilege these days. And but who knows? Like, we could have a WrestleMania in London in the next few years, based on Cena's. Yeah, it's definitely a response to All In, but the crowd went insane for it.
Yeah, they had to get that crowd back last night, didn't we?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think I wonder what they'll do. Like, LA Knight's someone who's very interesting at the moment. I'd like to see some gas been put behind him. Like, he's another elder statesman.
Yeah,
post 40. So the time is now for LA Knight.
Well, we'll see. Let it play out.
Yeah, that's it. Just patience is the number one asset in this business.
Excellent. Been a pleasure, Jack, having you on.
Thank you so much.
If anybody wants to catch Jack this weekend in Fight Factory on Friday evening, he'll be at the Fresh Life Summer Party. Go check them out. Tickets are available. You'll be able to get tickets at the door. Bring a bag of cans with you if you're like that kind of thing. Just don't throw them in the ring at the wrestlers.
Yeah. You don't want the ECW style situation with chairs floating in. But yeah, if anyone wants to secure their ticket before the event, obviously go to Eventbrite and just type in Fight Factory.
Yeah.
Or just go to a Fight Factory's Twitter page, and there's plenty of links.
Yeah, we'll leave the links in the description here as well for the Fight Factory show. Best of luck with it. I hope you smash it. Good luck to Mr. Hype, Kuro.
Yeah.
And
Thiago
Montero.
Yeah.
They're in for a hell of a fight.
That they are.
Jack, been a pleasure.
Likewise. Thanks so much.
Have a good day, man.
You too. Cheers.